Hello everyone! Today we're playing Wraithound. This is my latest game. It's currently crowdfunding. It's 100% funded, but you still have a chance to back it for one more week. So, if what you see here is interesting, go ahead and check the link in the description. You still have time to back and get it at a discounted price. Wraithound is a solo or co-op tabletop RPG. You can play by yourself or with up to other two people, so 1 to 3 players. In this game, you play as a supernatural ghost hunter. Because of your powers, you've been recruited to the Order of the Wraithound. Your missions consist in going into haunted mansions, manors, castles, and so forth, and investigate supernatural activity in this place, and actually confront the spectral presences that are there. So while you're collecting clues, you're trying to survive, you face obstacles, the manor itself is going to attack you, and the ghostly entities are also aggressive towards you. So you explore this mansion room by room, interacting with curious phenomena, trying to collect evidence, and create your own conjectures of what's going on here. As you do so, you face the horrors that plague this place, and when you get to the final room, you finally face the boss, the entity that is responsible for what's going on here. The game combines card play, dice rolls, and role play. So you need a standard deck of cards and just 2d6 to play. Or if you back at the second tier, you can have access to the dedicated VTT, in which all of the setup, including cards, dice, and oracle rolls, are already configured and automated for you to play easily. So for this example play, I want to showcase the game itself, give an overview of the mechanics, and also show how you can use the VTT to play seamlessly online by yourself or even with your friends. Granted, you don't need the VTT to play. You can play full analogic with dice, cards, your table, and a notebook perhaps. And the things that I'm going to explain today apply to both. But I think this is a good opportunity to show how to work with the VTT if that's interesting for you as well. So before we start, I think I could show you how the book's coming along. The game is fully written and is being edited and laid out at the moment, but I have a preview to show you. What you see here is the mock-up of the cover with amazing art by Kim Holm, and all the inside illustrations are by him as well. So let's dive in. I'll go ahead and flip through some of the pages just to give you a feeling of how it will look in the end. Mind you, subject to change while I edit the game, but here you go. So here's going to be the content page, information about the lore, and then we have an overview of the game, the inspirations, an overview on how to play the game with the steps. We get the rules, the oracle, and the tables for character creation, for all the rooms that you're going to explore, all the possible locations that you're going to investigate, the curiosities, and the creatures, the monsters that you're going to face. Looking pretty cool so far, huh? Now let's go ahead and take a look at the VTT, and here it is. VTT, or Virtual Tabletop, is, as you may know, a platform that allows you to play role-playing games online. What I've done here is I'm using the playingcards.io free platform, and I created a custom room with a custom deck with everything you need to play. As you can see, you can roll dice, use the automated buttons to review the cards. The cards themselves are custom made, so it saves some time during play, so you don't have to refer back to the book on the table to see what a 5 of diamonds means. Everything is automated, and my favorite part is the oracle roll. If you've played solo RPGs before, you're familiar with the concept of the oracle, which is a tool that answers questions for you. Those can be simple, closed yes or no questions that you can answer by rolling the dice. I'll explain that later. Or for open-ended questions, you use what I'm calling the prophecy/riddle oracle. It's very common for solo RPGs to add something like that. You combine like a verb and a noun, and then you interpret that in context to answer open-ended questions. What I've done here is I did something a little different. I created a template with 6 blank spots. On each one, you're going to roll on a table for verbs, nouns, adjectives, and connectors. And that creates a mysterious sentence that sounds like a prophecy or a riddle. And the idea is that during play, when you want to answer questions or you're coming up with the conjectures or the hypothesis about the investigation, you can roll this oracle, interpret that in context, and figure out, using your own imagination and what's happened so far in the story, what that mysterious sentence means. Now, if you're playing analogic, all you have to do is roll the dice 6 times and grab all the 6 words in these 2 tables here. There you go, there's 2 tables. And place them on this template here. Let me zoom in. There you go, that's the template right here. Verb, adjective, noun, connector, noun, and verb. And then you give your own interpretation, deciphering this cryptic message. On the VTT, however, I went ahead and automated the whole process. All you have to do is click on this button here that says Oracle, and it will roll the 6 words and place it in the sentence template. Check it out. There you go. Enrich the scattered guardian below the oath that retreats. What does that mean? I have no idea. But during the investigation, the exploration phase, you'll come up with theories based on the context. And I'll show you how to do it. But yeah, every time you click, you get a new complete sentence. Pretty cool, right? Another advantage of playing on the VTT is that you have an automated setup. If you go ahead and click here on Start, it says Reset Table and Start New Game, and then you click Start. And boom, the deck is shuffled and this 3x3 grid is constructed automatically for you. Not that it's something complicated to do analogically with your deck of cards, but it saves some time and saves some space if you don't have like a lot of table real estate to place your things on. So yeah, you have this option. Of course, you don't need to use it. That's why I separated on the crowdfunding project in 2 tiers. You can get the PDF and the print-on-demand coupon to buy the physical book. Or with $3 more, you can also have access to the VTT. It comes with a tiny little, I think 80 kilobyte file that you just drag and drop into the playingcards.io platform and boom, it's ready for you to play. All right, everything else that you see here, I'm going to explain during the gameplay. So, okay, enough chit-chatting. Let's play the game. The first thing you need to do is create your character. Characters in Wraithound are made of truths. They are your name, your drive, your talent, your style, and your trinket. You have random tables for all of those. They are D66 tables, you know. You roll 2d6, combine the digits, and it gives a number from 11 to 66. And you check on the tables and get your results. Of course, if you want to, you can just skim over those tables and pick your own result. Or if you're feeling inspired, you can look at them, use them as inspiration, and come up with your own. So let's create ours. Okay, let me roll some dice here. You roll for first name, a last name, and an epithet. First name, 4 and 6. 4 and 6 gives me Elora. Okay. Now let's roll for last name. It's 6 and 4, the opposite. Cool. 6 and 4 give us Netherwood. Laura Netherwood. And our epithet is 1 and 4. The Song. Oh, interesting. See, Wraithounds are born with a supernatural power. When it manifests, the order of the Wraithound captures you from your family, and then you go into training with the order. There, you're exposed to supernatural activities to fully manifest your powers. And once you enter there, it's kind of a transformation that you can't go back to your previous life. So you dedicate your life to ghost hunting forever. You become something more than human. You become a Wraithound. And here with the name and the epithet, you start to form a visual or some ideas of what kind of person that is. I have some ideas, but let's roll on the other tables to see what that gives us. Now we're rolling for our drive. Our drive is, of course, as a Wraithound, you have obligations, and you had no choice in joining the order. You were kind of captured. But that doesn't mean that you don't have your personal agenda, and that's what we're going to find out right now. 1 and 4 again. Curious. Let's see what that means. 1 and 4. Fulfilling a vision seen in a prophetic dream. Oh, interesting. You can go ahead and explore this a little more, perhaps roll on the Oracle to learn about it, or you can leave it kind of vague because you have chances during gameplay to tie the events that happen during the mission your own personal story. And that's what I'm going to do. I'll leave it kind of vague. What is this prophetic dream? What is this vision? And perhaps it will come up as we play. Perhaps not in the first mission, perhaps on a future mission, but nevertheless, I think it's an interesting point to leave to future exploration. Next is your talent. Our talent is what sets us apart as a Wraithound. We have a bunch of different skills, supernatural or not, our innate talents, or the things we learned in the order, but there is one thing that is like our signature. It can be like a way to manifest it or a way to use an object, and that's what this table gives us. Rolling 5 and 3. 5 and 3 is manipulating time through ancient clocks. Ooh, seems powerful. Next up is your style. So you roll for your attire, your hair, and your eyes. If you dig drawing your character art or commissioning, this is heaven for you. I don't do either, but it really helps me wrap my idea of the character when I have an idea of how they present themselves. So that's why I include those kinds of tables. I think they're super fun. Let's roll. I got a 1 and a 4 again. There. Flowing white robes with blue sash. That is giving me a kind of a cleric vibe, right? Isn't that cool? Now, hair and eyes. Let's roll twice. 6 and 2 for hair, and 3 and 1 for eyes. 6 and 2 give us black hair with white tips, and 3 and 1 give us radiant violet eyes. Heck yeah. Last but not least, you have your trinket. During your training as a Wraithound, the Order gifted you with a strange object. What it does is kind of a mystery. You know that can be useful, but they say to you that when you're ready or when you're worthy of it, it will manifest itself. Trinket for me is the best opportunity to tie your exploration to yourself. From my playthroughs, it's very cool when you have a situation or a challenge you need to overcome and you suddenly realize, oh, I think my trinket is the perfect thing for that. I think its function is exactly this and this and that. And you roll in an oracle and come up with the stories and sometimes even tie the story of your trinket with the things that are happening in the mansion. Super cool. Let's roll. I got 1 and 1. Right, so I have a smooth oval stone that pulses with a warm glow when held, casting intricate shadow patterns on nearby surfaces. You see, it's... what is that? Right? It's super vague, but I think it's very evocative, and I can't wait to find out what it does. One of the major joys for me as a solo player is tying random things with oracle rolls and the context of the story and weave a somewhat cohesive thread that ends up creating a narrative that is yours. It's unlike anything else. It's super personal, and it's kind of magical how the things fall into place and kind of make sense, you know? I love it. That's why I include things like that in the games I make. And that's it. That's our character. Elora Netherwood, the song. I think she uses pronouns she, her. She has the drive of fulfilling a vision seen in a prophetic dream. She has the power to manipulate time through ancient clocks. She dresses with flowing white robes with a blue sash. She has black hair with white tips, radiant violet eyes, and she carries this smooth oval stone. It pulses with a warm glow when held, casting intricate shadow patterns on nearby surfaces. Now, looking at all of that together, you can spend some time to try and tie some things together if you want, or you can leave it for the gameplay. For us here, I think I see this epithet, the song. There is something here, I think, connected to the prophetic vision, the dream that she had. Perhaps there was something else or someone that told her that she should find the song and that would finally put the spirits to rest. But she's kind of afraid to tell that because that would mean that the Wraithound order would no longer be necessary. She has mentioned a few times that she needs to find the song, but she remains a little vague about what it is, and that's why she carries this epithet. I think she comes from a more religious background. A family believes on this kind of prophecies. Oh, perhaps even the dream was before she entered the order when she was very young. She kept hearing this melody, this song that she needs to find. I think her black hair got the white tips during the process of training with the order. She didn't have it before, but when she was exposed to a very powerful supernatural entity to kind of manifest all of her powers. That was the first time she was able to freeze time, but it got out of control and she spent a lifetime in this frozen dimension. And when she finally reverted back, she was back at her age, but she came back with this white tips as if time itself had tainted her hair. That's nice, huh? I like that. As you might have noticed, there are no stats, no numbers, no attributes, hit points, or anything. Your truths will inform your story. They're fuel for you to inject your backstory into the narrative, to understand how you will approach the challenges, and to help you embody this character as you. That's my goal here. Now, with your character done, you move on to the mission. Mission is very simple, only 2 tables. You're going to roll to determine the location and the supernatural manifestations that were witnessed there so far. So let's go ahead and do that. 2 and 4. That gives us the rune-bound residence, an abode wrapped in glowing arcane sigils. Yeah. As you can see, they're just not just regular mansions and manors. All of the entries on this table have something very unique about them. There are things created from meteoric iron, a manor atop a floating isle, a mansion built from shipwrecks, and a lot more. It's very fun. Now here on your journal or your logbook, you separate your truths from the mission and you just copy it. Now you determine the haunting. Mind you, it's not who is responsible for the haunting or an explanation of what's happening. That's your job to figure out. What it does here is when you receive your mission briefing, so to speak, there are some initial signs of supernatural activity. It's your first clue to try to unravel what's going on. A first piece in this puzzle that you're going to concoct by yourself. I rolled a 5 and a 2. Let's see what that is. 5 and 2. Ghostly hands appear in mirrors, reaching out as if to pull viewers into the glass. Ew. And that's it. So a superior in the order has come up to you and said, you have been asked to go to the rune-bound residence because it appears that some hands are appearing from mirrors and trying to pull people inside the glass. By default, you expect that when you arrive at the mansion, it has been cleared of all inhabitants, so you have it for yourself and it's going to be empty, all right? Now that this is done, we can move on to the virtual tabletop and set up the play space. As I said before, the VTT does the setup automatically for you when you open it, and you can reset it by clicking on the start button down here. But I'm going to simulate what would you have to do if you were playing analogically, just to teach you the game, all right? So if you're playing with a physical deck of cards, the first thing you need to do is separate the red cards and the black cards and put it in 2 different piles. Set the jokers aside for the moment. Now you're going to divide both the red cards and the black cards into 3 levels. Level 1 is the cards from 2 to 5. Level 2 is 6 to 10. And level 3, Jack, Queen, King, and Ace. And that's what I did here. So here I have the red cards from 2 to 5 and the black cards from 2 to 5. The red cards from 6 to 10. The black cards from 6 to 10. And here, the red Jack, Queen, King, and Ace. And the black Jack, Queen, King, and Ace. Next, you shuffle your jokers and place a random one here on the second level of the black cards and the other one here on the third level of the black cards. Shuffle them all. Very good. And now we're going to form the grid. The grid represents the mansion itself. Each one of these 9 slots that are empty for now here represent a room. And each slot's going to have 3 cards. One that determines the room itself, one that determines a curiosity, that's a strange phenomenon that's going on there, and the third one that is a challenge, either a threat or a horror. So to do that, you're going to place 2 red cards and 1 black card on each of these slots. The red cards will later determine the room and the curiosity, and the black card will be either a threat or a horror. The idea is that you have to place the cards that are on the same level. So here on level 1, I place 2 red cards and 1 black card for this slot, and 2 red cards and 1 black card for this one, and 2 red cards and 1 black card for this one. Second level, same thing, 2 red cards and 1 black. And so on until you have everything placed. I've played this game during development with a standard deck of cards many times, and the setup usually takes about 3 minutes. It's super quick once you get the hang of it. Now, of course, using the VTT, you don't have to do any of that. You just click here and start new game, and boom. It's shuffled, it's distributed between red and black cards, every level is separated for you, and it's already distributed in the grid. This is your mansion. This is the manor that you have to investigate. In our case, the rune-bound residence. With your setup done, you're ready to start playing. And how you do that? Well, you start from the first level. You choose any of the 3 piles on the first level, it doesn't matter which one, and you flip the cards that are there. The card on the bottom is going to determine the room. The next card is the curiosity, and the final card, the black one, will be the threat or horror. Here on the virtual tabletop, all you have to do is click on the button reveal, and it will do it for you. Let's start from the middle, why not? Boom. There you go. So we have 3 cards revealed. The one that is left here is the room, and the other ones are labeled. This is the curiosity, and this is the threat or horror. Now, if you're playing with a standard deck of cards, what you have to do is, you see, oh, this is a 3 of hearts. You flip the book, go to the rooms, and check 3 of hearts. This is the dining room. Lingering traces of nostalgia and overindulgence. Cool. Now, on the VTT, all you have to do is hover over the card. It will offer a zoomed in version of it, and you can read the results directly here. No need to refer back to the table. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, oh, that would be cool to have this as a physical deck as well. Good news for you. I'm going to offer the deck as a print-on-demand option to purchase as well, at cost for all backers. It will be provided by the game crafter. I'll perhaps need a week or so more to finish the files and prepare everything for print-on-demand, but if you like collecting playing cards, or if you think that's going to be useful for you to play with this one, you have that option. Now let's go back to the room here. So we're starting our investigation in the dining room. Lingering traces of nostalgia and overindulgence. You can spend some time here to envision this place and give a description, and even use the oracle to further define and detail this place. If you're into journaling, it's a good opportunity to write a paragraph about it, explore these traces of nostalgia and overindulgence, how they manifest in the space. If, on the other hand, you prefer a more straightforward approach, you can skip over that, just form a mental image of this place, see yourself there, and move on. I think here's the first opportunity for us to see the runes of this place. So I believe we see a large wooden dining table, and it's the first time that we see those glowing runes. So the setting of this game is a little vague. It has hints of fantasy, but I place it in my mind more like a Victorian Gothic style. But as you can see, there are inhabitants of this world that manifests some uniqueness, we can say. So this is a family, I think, that deals with some sort of mystic powers, magic slash religious. And I think for Elora, this is a cool vision for her to see a place that has this kind of manifestation. So she's kind of in awe of the grandeur of this place, right? Cool. Now, the second red card is the curiosity. As you can see here, we have 3 entries in each red card. So when you're playing on the VTT, you have to focus on the one that makes sense for the place you're in. So in this case, we're going to ignore the entries for room and secret room in this card and just pick the curiosity because that's where this card is. What is happening here? Furniture rearranges itself when you look away. What is it attempting to display? There you go. So every curiosity has a small description of a spectral phenomenon and a prompt, a question that is an invitation for you to interact with what's going on and to start creating the story behind this haunting. And I think here, personally, this is the best time to use the oracle to answer those questions and to tie it in with your story. Of course, this is our first room, so we don't have much to tie it in, but this is our first opportunity to start with our conjectures of what's going on. So let's roll on the oracle and see how that works. Decipher the forsaken secret beyond the pain that binds. So now your job here is seeing this manifestation, the furniture rearranging, getting the question, what is it attempting to display? And with this kind of a riddle-like, prophecy-like sentence, try to come up with an idea. Now, this can be paralyzing for people that never played like this. So I have a few tips. First, go with your guts. You don't need to try and find the real truth behind the meaning of the sentence. Do not overthink. Second, do not hesitate to ignore words or feel pressure to include the actual words that you wrote into your interpretation. If the sentence sparked an idea and when you describe this idea, you don't include the sentence itself that the oracle created, that's okay. Its job is done. It inspired you to create and to come up with an interpretation. So that's okay. If you want to, you can complement with yes or no questions as well. You have a theory, you may want to check it, but that's not necessary. That comes to my third tip. Don't be afraid to be obvious or to just confirm your first theories. That's okay. Of course, you can be surprised by the oracle, something that you thought was true, then it turns out that it is not anymore. That's fine. But if you had a previous idea before you even rolled and you see something there that you connect and create patterns, we humans are very good at creating patterns like that. Excellent. Go with it. All right? Don't overthink it. I actually went ahead and include those tips into the book itself, okay? I'll declare that it's the chairs that are moving. And I'll ask the oracle here, the yes-no oracle. Is it the chair at the head of the table, the main one, like the house chief one that is moving? To roll a yes or no question, you just roll the dice here and you give it 2 options, yes or no, or option A or option B, to each of the colors of the dice. So I'll say here that the red one is, yes, the chair that is moving is the one at the head of the table. And the black one will say that, or no, but I can give another option already instead of rolling a bunch of yes or no questions. So I'll say that if it's the blackest highest, it's all the chairs that are moving. So let's roll. There you go. It's the first one. So it's the chief of the house whose chair is moving, okay? Now, another question. Is it like falling down, or is it option B? Is it getting closer to another chair? Let's see. It's falling down. Okay. So the rearranging is the chair at the head of the table is falling. Oh, I have a theory. Decipher the forsaken secret beyond the pain that binds. A pain that binds is like a suffering that connects all the family, but there is a forsaken secret behind that. So if the table of the head of the family just fallen down, I'm assuming that this person is dead, and the pain that binds what connects all the rest of the family is that they are responsible for their death of the chief of the house. So they poisoned his or her dinner, and they died during dinner. That's what of the falling of the chair represents. That is the forsaken secret beyond the pain that binds. So I think I envision Elora looking at the runes at the table, and when she looks away, she hears a noise, and when she looks back, it's the chair that moved back and fell, and she goes to investigate it, and some runes glow more than the others, and she has some knowledge of those runes, perhaps from her religion background, and they say like murder or something like that, and it's obvious that this chair is the head of the house because it's more ornate. So she comes to the conclusion that the spirits here or the apparition are showing that this person was assassinated. Let's determine, is it a man? No, it's not, it's a woman. So the head of the house here is the matriarch was assassinated. I mean, that's my favorite thing about solo play by far. So you're from random words and random cards, we are already in the first room creating a conspiracy to kill the matriarch of the house, and we haven't even seen a ghost yet. That's awesome, isn't it? Now, again, if you have a logbook or a journal, you can spend as much or as little time reporting all that. You can journal in first person with the impressions of your Wraithound, the conjectures and the theories they're coming up with. Or you can just log with bullet points, whatever it is that is happening, just for you to recall later on if you have to stop in the middle of the session, or if you have to remember what it is exactly that we came up with in that room, so you have the log. I'll show you an example here. So here, I updated my journal. I simply put room 1, the dining room. They're rearranging chairs, and the glowing runes indicate that the matriarch was murdered by the family, perhaps? Question mark? There's a theory, can be proven wrong later on. Okay, pretty much it. It took me 15 seconds. After you interact with the curiosity, it's time to reveal the threat or horror that you're going to face. Threat are more environmental obstacles. The manner itself, it's manifesting the supernatural activity, and you have to overcome this obstacle. Horror are ghosts, are spirits, entities, apparitions, and phenomena like that that are aggressive towards you, so they're trying to fight you. If it's a card of clubs, it's a threat. If it's a card of spades, it's a horror. So I can see that we have a threat. Let's see what that is. The whirlwind. Books hurtle from shelves, decorations swirls in a menacing dance, creating a hazardous maze of flying objects. Now, threats have to be interpreted in the context of the room you are in. So I don't think books is the case here because we are in the dining room, but decoration swirls in a menacing dance. That seems more likely. As I am investigating the chair and the runes, I see a little tremor, and even the plates and the silverware start to levitate from the table and start the whirlwind. And there are flying knives and forks and plates being crashed against the walls, and I'm trying to avoid them and dodge out of their way. And now is when you get into action. And we're going to roll some dice to do so. The dice system in Wraithound is utterly simple. You have 2 dice, 1 of each color. You declare your action and your intent, and based on the context, your abilities, the circumstances, the level of danger and risk, or how effective you think your action can be, you assign 2 plausible outcomes for the dice, option A and option B. You roll them both, The higher one is the outcome that comes to pass. Simple as that. Let's give an example here. I think the spirits here are manifesting a kind of anger and someone messing with the story of this place, and the falling of the chair representing the death of the matriarch is the reason why this anger is being manifested right now. So I think what I have to do to get rid of it is avoid those flying silverware and get to the chair and put it back in its place so they will calm down. Now, this is level 1 that we are in. What that means is you should interpret those threats as less dangerous and easier to deal with. Usually, as a baseline, the level you're in is the number of positive outcomes you need on the dice to overcome it. So level 1, if you get one dice roll and you have one option that is positive for you, that'll be enough, okay? But narratively, you can decide that depending on the circumstances, you need more than one positive roll. And more than that, perhaps you can say that if you get a positive one and then a negative one, you have to start over because all the progress that you've made is undone. Again, this game has no modifiers, no stats, no hit points, and not anything. This decision is based purely on what you need. It's dramatically interesting and necessary for the point of the story you are in. So in our case here, I could simply decide that, well, one single roll and it's decided. But I think it's fair to assume that narratively I would have to avoid the objects first and then be able to lift the chair. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm simply declaring that I need 2 positive outcomes to overcome this threat, all right? Now, that being said, it's important to remember one key aspect of this dice roll mechanic. When you decide on option A and option B before you roll, that doesn't necessarily mean that option A is success, option B is failure. You can have 2 degrees of success or 2 degrees of partial success or a major success and an extreme disaster. That all depends on the context. So although I said I need 2 positive outcomes, I think I can establish for now, for example, that the first roll that I'm gonna have, both dice represent different degrees of positive results. Let me explain what I mean by that. So Elora is going to try to dodge the silverware and get to the chair. That's the first action. I'm going to declare that the red die, option A, represents that she does that, she avoids everything and gets to the chair. But I'll say that option B is she also gets to the chair, but she gets cut by a flying knife that crosses her path. So regardless of the dice result, I will get to the chair, and hence it is a positive outcome. But I decided that those are 2 different degrees of positive. If you were playing, you could decide otherwise. Like option A is she gets there with minor scratches, and option B is a plate smashes against her head and she falls down and she has to try again. That is entirely up to you. Since this is the beginning of the game, it's the first room, I'm cutting myself some slack and deciding this way, all right? So we roll and we see the result. Let's do this. So option B wins. She gets to the chair, but there is a knife that crosses violently against her, let's say her arm, and cuts her robes a little bit. Again, there are no hit points, but this cut now becomes part of the story, becomes part of the narrative, and it will inform the next scenes and even perhaps how I determine option A and B on future rolls. Let's say I have to climb somewhere and I remember I have this cut. Is it bothering me that I can say that instead of making it easy on me and having option A be a strong success, I can say that one option is I manage but with a lot of pain, and another option is that the pain is so strong that I can't climb. You see, although we don't have modifiers, penalties, disadvantages, or anything of the sort, By simply painting option A and option B to reflect our current circumstances, we have this flexibility to incorporate in the dice roll everything that is part of the narrative, be it our current context, our abilities, the environment, and so on. Right, so she got there. Now she'll be trying to raise the chair and put it back in place. And I think the difficulty here is that this whirlwind is destabilizing everything, so it's hard to keep balance and put it in place. Let's see how it goes. Option A, she does that with some effort. And let's say option B, she gets knocked back and she has to try again. And there we go. Option A, 6 against 2. She manages to place it back in place. And as soon as she does that, all the silverware and the plates fall abruptly to the floor, confirming her suspicion that the spirits here are angry because of the death of the matriarch. Now that the challenge has been overcome, the threat is resolved, you evaluate your performance. This is a subjective evaluation. Do you think you were more in control of it? Or did you get defeat by the things? Or even if you're not defeated, did you suffer a lot with it? Or did you show a skillful display of your talents or everything? In other words, the whole scene, do you think it went more in your favor or more against you? If you think it went more in your favor, you are going to place the threat card on your power pile. If you think it was more against you, things didn't go your way too much, you place it on the peril pile. Those two stacks will represent how well you're doing during your exploration of the mansion, and they will set the stakes for your final confrontation against the final boss, the entity responsible for everything that is going on here. So you want to accumulate more cards on the power pile and less cards on the peril pile. But again, this is subjective. More than anything, it's a narrative decision. I think we were in control of the situation. We had a guess about what could stop the manifestation. And besides the little scratch with a knife, I think we did pretty good. So this card is going to the power pile. If you're playing analogic, you just flip the card and put it to your right. Here on the VTT, you simply click the power button here, in this case, and boom, the card is flipped down and placed here. If you had decided otherwise, you simply click on the peril one and it would be moved to the correspondent pile. Now, you would be ready to move on, but before you do that, you have the opportunity to find secret passages to a secret room. If any two cards of the three you revealed match, there is a potential passage here. And let's see, we have a 4 and a 4. That means that there is potential to find a secret room here. How do we know that we found it? Well, you simply roll it. Option A, you do. Option B, you don't. Now, if the scene that you built here already showed some evidence that there is a secret passage, you could tilt these results and say that option A is yes, you'll find it easily, or option B, you find it, but perhaps it is blocked and you have to make an action here to go through this place or whatever. As with any other role, this one, you can adjust option A and option B to better fit the narrative that you're creating. In our case, I don't think there is any justification to make it easier for us to find a secret passage. We just examined the table and the chair, and there were no clues, no narrative evidence that there was one. So I'm going to say that option A, we stumbled upon this passage to a secret room. And option B, we simply move on and we don't find it. All right, let's see how we do. And a 5 and a 1. Excellent. We found a secret passage. That's very exciting. If you're playing with a physical deck, what you do is you grab one of the reminiscent cards, red cards, from the level you're in or the next. So we are in level 1. I could pick up one from here or one from here and reveal it here. As you can see, the secret room stands between the level you're in and the next one, right? And you can find only one per level. Here on the VTT, if you click here, Secret Room, it will automatically reveal one card from the level you're in. If you're interested in revealing one from the next level, you have to do it manually, but it's very easy. We just drag and drop. Here in this case, I'll just go ahead and click the button and boom, we revealed our secret room. Let's read what that is. Again, from the context, we ignore room on the top and the curiosity on the bottom, and let's focus on the secret room in the middle. The boudoir, veils of perfume and silk, vanity draped in layers of soft elegance. Now, secret rooms are special for two reasons. One is that they offer a shortcut. See, to move from one level to the other, by default, you have to traverse all three rooms. You cannot move to level 2 before you face everything that is on level 1. And the same thing, from level 2 to level 3, you have to go through everything. So in other words, you just finish the game when you explore the 9 slots. Now, if you find a secret room, and if you want to, you can use this as a shortcut. From here, from this secret room, you'll find a passage to the next level, so you could skip those two. Now, this is a narrative decision, and also if you think your power pile is doing well, you don't want to risk getting hurt or increasing the peril pile on the other ones, or you are shorter in time for playing, you can go ahead and skip it. Otherwise, there is no obligation to do so. You can simply decide that you are going to continue exploring this level and move on afterwards. Now, the other reason the secret room is special is, as you can see, it's only a single card. There is no curiosity, and more importantly, there is no threat or horror here. So this place offers you a moment of respite. You can reflect on the things that happen, perhaps connected to your past, your backstory, your skills, or narrate a flashback. And when you're done, you simply move on. Now, what I'm going to do here is I will take a look back on the truths about my character, see if anything sparks my imagination, and perhaps roll on the oracle to create some connections and see how that goes. Perhaps I can try and use my trinket here. That would be fun, wouldn't it? Let's read back the description. Veils of perfume and silk, vanity draped in layers of soft elegance. So I think I see a small table in the corner with a cavity, and I'll try and place this stone that I have in this cavity and rub my hand on top of it because it displays shadows. See if it reacts. Let's ask the oracle. Does it do anything when I place it there? One option A is yes, it displays the shadows and there's a meaning in those shadows. And B, no, it rejects the stone and it's dropped on the floor. Let's see what happens. And it's A, okay, so I place it gently. As I've seen many times before, shadows start to appear. But this time, I can see some meaning behind those shadows. What kind of meaning is that? Let's ask the oracle. Mend the natural energy before the dusk that speaks. I think I know what it means. Dusk I'm interpreting as the end of the light, so end of a life perhaps. A dusk that speaks, that carries a message. So I'm reporting back to the death of the matriarch here. So this death has a meaning. But what the shadows are showing here is mend the natural energy before that. So before I'm thinking the past. So the shadows are portraying a scene that happened here in the past where there was an attempt to mend the natural energy. This natural energy here, I'm thinking it's the relationship between this matriarch and perhaps one of her daughters. So this is the boudoir, a place that you use perfume and you get ready and everything. So at the shadows, the silhouette of two people an older woman and a younger one. The older one seems a little more severe, perhaps rigid. The other one is not a kid, perhaps it's a teenager. There is an effort from her part to try to connect with her mother and inviting her to, participate in this moment. For a brief moment, you see the mother caressing her hair and fixing everything. But then the teenager makes a practical joke or sprays some perfume in the air and laughs. The mother reacts abruptly by smacking her on her hand and storming out of the room. And you see the silhouette of the teenager covering her hands with her palms, like crying. After a brief moment, she sits up and grabs a vial of perfume and smashes against the wall. So you see the first manifestations of this complicated relationship between the family members of this place. Another good thing about secret rooms is that by having this moment of respite without a threat, you can go ahead and add a black card from the level you're in this case level 1, an unused one, straight into your power pile. So you just go and bloop. By engaging in this scene, you're rewarded with a free power card. Pretty good, right? Now, for the sake of brevity, I'll go ahead and use the secret room as a shortcut, and I'm moving straight to the level 2. Again, same deal. You can choose any of the three. You don't need to choose the adjacent one here from the secret room. This representation of the mansion is not a physical display of the mansion itself, so you can make some liberties here and simply choose any of the slots from this level to reveal. I updated the journal with the discoveries I've made on the secret room, and I choose this first slot here from the level 2 to be the next one. Let's go ahead and reveal it. What is the room we are in? It's the tea room, okay. Tradition and tension, sipping delicate aromas and sharp remarks. This already sits well with the scene we just covered on the secret room. Sharp remarks, perhaps. This was a place in which the matriarch once again showed her authority towards her children, and despite the elegance and the formality, there was always this bit of pressure and tension. The curiosity here is windows fog up inexplicably. What are they obscuring? So let's check the oracle. Creates the hidden dream, and the hill ceases, or the hill that ceases. Is it a dream of the matriarch or of their children? A, B, C. Oh, when you roll the oracle and you have equal results, you can go with the most obvious answer, or you can go for an ambiguous result between both options, or you can go for a third unexpected answer. And that's what I'm going to do. So I said it's the matriarch or the children, but it's not any of the two. Let's roll the oracle again here and see if we have a clue about who that is. Clings the lonely mist where the dusk rises. The dusk rises. Now, since we established that dusk represents death, dusk rises is someone coming back from the dead. The lonely myth is perhaps a solitary person that lived in this place before this family moved in. And what the fogs in the windows are trying to obscure is the dream of this person, lonely past inhabitant of this place. That, let's say it's a man, that he wanted to come back, or perhaps he wanted the matriarch to carry on with his legacy. Perhaps this person was the one responsible for etching the runes in the first place, and the matriarch somehow got to know that and got involved in it and was dedicating her life entirely to deciphering or perhaps expanding the runes. And her obsession with that is one of the reasons of her austerity and her detachment of the children. And the myth about this guy is that he was insane, that those etchings were a result of some sort of paranoia and spirits here fogging the window. I think when Elora approaches the window of the tea room that faces the gardens of this place, she cleans the fog and she sees the specter of this man playing on the yard, or somehow showing that he was living a very regular life. And then some runes flash, and those runes actually have meaning. So it would prove that this guy was onto something. Whatever it is that is haunting this place right now, don't want this to be discovered, because perhaps those runes have some sort of influence in the spectral world. And I think that the matriarch was getting close to deciphering this, and these apparitions is starting to influence the children against the mother, because the spirits wanted the matriarch to stop her research before she finds out, I don't know, a way to access the spectral world, or to banish them from the influence that they have through this mansion. And those runes are a sort of either a protection or control spells. And they managed to influence the children, perhaps. And after the matriarch was killed, they started to become more powerful and a little bit out of control, and decided to go ahead and capture the souls of the children, since they already had the influence over them. And that ties back to the first manifestation that brought us here in the first place. Before that, the influence of the spirits was subtle. Children themselves didn't even consider that they had been manipulated. But now spirits have been made more present and started to reach through the mirrors to try and capture them to the spirit realm. Haha, I see we're creating a theory here, huh? Pretty cool. Now, as I'm coming up with all these conclusions looking through the window, that's when our threat or horror appears. As you can see, it's a card of spades, which means it is a horror we have to face. Let's see what that is. The gargoyle. Oh no, a hulking gargoyle entity that detaches from the manor's roof. Oh, okay. So we're looking outside at the garden, seeing this spectral appearance, and we see that he is there, perhaps pacing back and forth and thinking, and he looks up, and we hear the flapping of wings, and we see that this enormous gargoyle comes flying straight through the windows of the tea room, and they crash, and lots of glass spread through the room. We try to cover our faces, but when we look back, the window is intact. This crashing was on the spectral levels, and the gargoyle is perched on top of the tea table, and it lunges and attacks us. All right, now it's time to get into action. Time to roll dice. As I said before, okay, we're in level 2, so the baseline here is to assume that we need 2 positive outcomes to get rid of it, but we can manipulate it as we see fit. So I'm going to see where it goes. You don't need to decide beforehand. You can decide afterwards, after the rules. And so let's get into action. I think my first attempt here is to try to dodge out of the way, right? Again, I'm trying to avoid things. It lunges after me, and I'm trying to roll. Option A, I'm able to avoid it. And option B, it jumps on top of me, and I'm stuck behind its enormous paws. Let's see. 4-3, okay, so I dodge it. Excellent. I will try to tap into my powers. I look at the back wall of this place, and I see that they have a cuckoo clock, a very old one, and I can pause time. So I'm trying to jump using the table as leverage trying to reach at this clock on the wall. Perhaps I can slow time for a bit and I'll be able to do something. Option A, that's exactly what happens. Option B, as I'm jumping, the gargoyle grabs me by the ankle and pulls me back. Oh no, that's exactly what happened. It does. So it slams me against the tea table, and all the porcelain and china and everything flies around. And now it's moving, it's piercing eyes and gigantic maw towards me and trying to bite me on the neck. So I'm going to try to grab a teapot and throw it in its way. It's not a very good idea. So option A is I'm able to gain like 3 seconds to try and escape its grab. And option B, it ignores my attempt completely and the teapot crashes against its head and it goes ahead and bites me. Let's go. All right, so we have a tie. I'm glad that happens. As you can see below here, when there is a tie, there's something else that happens that is not even option A or option B. And you have a drop down here that has all 6 possible combinations of ties. So if we click here, we see that you reach a stalemate, or the environment changes, revelation, a scene is interrupted, there is a cost or a choice or a complication, or in our case, surprisingly, is the same thing as the oracle. A third unexpected option comes to pass. So it's not that I get some seconds, and it is not that it bites me. Something else unexpected happens. I have no idea, so I'm going to roll on the oracle. Initiate the furious history before the force that fractures. Oh, I know what happened. I think the specter of the previous owner of this place is manifesting here furiously. The force, I think, is the force of the gargoyle that fractures the stability of this manor. So I think seeing that perhaps I am a good option for this person to discover and continue the job that the matriarch was doing to decipher these runes, and seeing that I'm about to lose it, he is possessed by an inner rage that makes him manifest here as a powerful entity, and that surprises the gargoyle. When it was about to bite me, it manifests next to me and he attacks it, and he has a better chance because they are fighting both on the spectral level, and that gives me a chance to run towards the clock, and I'll jump and try to pause it again. All right, so yeah, little twist here. So I'm going to say option A, I'm able to reach it and decelerate time, or option B, let's say I am able to reach it, but there is a time distortion that prevents the specter of the previous owner to keep manifesting here, and he disappears. Let's roll and see. Okay, I got it. Time decelerates, so I think I'll put my hand forward and perform the incantations that I've learned during the Wraithound training to banish this entity here. And option A, that's what happens. Option B, it starts to be repelled, but I think it's so strong that it's able to avoid my influence and it attacks me back. Let's see how it goes. Oh, another tie. 6-6. A revelation challenges your assumptions. What is revealed here? Let's use the oracle again. Decipher the scattered flame before the oath that speaks. This is an example of metaphorical interpretation of the oracle. Scattered flame, flame, glow, scattered. So what is scattered and it's glowing here? The runes. Decipher it. So there will be a revelation about the runes right now that challenges our assumptions. Before the oath that speaks, I think I see the specter of the past owner raising his hands, and the runes in this place start to glow intensely, and his eyes get bright and evil with a grimace in his face, and you see him draining the energy of the gargoyle to himself. So what I'm interpreting here is this oath that it speaks, that's perhaps an oath that this owner made in the past, that he spoke kind of like a ritual, and these runes were not to prevent hauntings or to avoid an evil thing. Instead, what his guy was trying to do was to tap into the energy of the spectral world for his own benefit. He was seeking power, not protection. Okay, that changes everything. So that's a revelation that challenges my assumption. I thought this was the good guy, and perhaps it is not. Perhaps the entities were just minding their own business, and this guy was sapping the energy from the other world, from the beyond the veil, and they had to do something to stop him from doing that. But now the gargoyle doesn't know that, and the spirits see me here, and they see me as an enemy as well. So I'm fighting a lonely battle here without being able to explain what I'm after, but I'll have to face those entities and come up with a solution. Very cool. So I'll determine here that with this draining of the forces, this spectre gains great power and bursts an explosion of energy that obliterates the gargoyle completely. We see its fragments disappearing into the air, and he raises. He's now bigger and taller and looks directly into us and traverses through our chest, like this classic scenes of ghost movies that you see a specter traversing to a living body, and we see this evil presence inside of us, and it disappears. And there you go. And the scene ends. Now, I think that we weren't exactly in control here. We got our butt whooped despite the help of this guy. So I'm considering putting this black heart on the peril pile. And there's something else that you should know. As you progress through the levels, when you consider that you didn't do very well, you can add more cards to the peril pile besides the one that belongs to this slot. And as a baseline, you can say that on level 2, if you're defeated, you would place 2 cards here. And on level 3, because the threats are bigger, you would place up to 3 cards here. Now, this is a decision that you shouldn't take lightly because, as I said, those piles represent your leverage against the final boss versus the danger that they represent. And for an interesting final battle, narratively, you should aim to keep those piles close to each other. If you have more than double one of the others, it's going to be an unbalanced fight. That's okay. But if you want to have more interesting odds in the end, you can use this rule of adding more cards as a balancing mechanism. So if you see that you have a lot of power there, you can place more cards so that the final battle is more even. Do what serves your story better. In this case, since I have 2 cards on the power pile, I'll go ahead and place this one. Boom, barrel. And I'll place an extra one. You pick a black card that is unused from the level you're in. We are on the 2nd level, so pick another one and place it there. So we're 2 against 2. We're even. Now, we had a match here too, a 10 and a 10, which means we might be able to find a secret room here as well. As I said, it's just 1 secret room per level. There are no secret rooms on the 3rd level. You can find 1 from level 1 to level 2 and 1 from level 2 to level 3. We have 10 and 10, so we might be able to find one. Let's see. It's a tie, so it's a 3rd option. Perhaps we see the spectre going through a crack between the stones on the wall. So it kind of implies that there is a room there, but we can't find a way to open this place. So I'll consider that we don't find it. And that's okay. Now, for the sake of this demonstration, I'm speeding up the process here. And moving on to a next room, we found a secret room, but in this one, our threat or horror was instead a joker. And if you find a joker instead of a threat or horror during the 8 slots that precede the final battle, they signify a boss clue. The first joker you find will give you a clue on the motivation behind this haunting. And if you find a second joker, it's a weakness of the boss that you can use against him on the final battle. So you use the context of your investigation here and perhaps roll on the oracle to come up with your conclusions about the motivation. I won't do it here because I'll demonstrate how to do that, but let's assume we found that the motivation was really to prevent this guy or anyone from sapping the energy from the spectral world. So we know that we can use it against the boss. To represent that, you go ahead and you place the joker on the power pile. So you have one more card on the power pile to fight against the boss, which is very good. Now, I skipped some more rooms so we can get to the final battle because it's a little different. At this moment, we have 4 cards on the power pile and 5 cards on the peril pile. So it's kind of even. It's going to offer a good battle, we hope. What you do here is you review as usual. So we know that we're going to fight this entity in the ballroom. You can even, before facing it, you can explore a curiosity here. And the threat and or horror card here will represent the boss. We got a joker here, but just for sake of demonstration, let's say it was another one. Let's say it was the queen. You see that the middle section here presents a boss. In this case, it will be Vespera, the shadow enchantress. But if you find a joker on the final slot, it's too late to find motivations or weaknesses. The joker represents the boss. You're going to check on the table. You have an entry for the black joker and the red joker. In this case, we got the red joker. So here is our boss. Wick, the poltergeist jester. A capricious and malevolent spirit with a cruel sense of humor, using objects and illusions to bewilder and torment whoever crosses their path. So you finally reveal the entity behind the haunting of this place. Up to this point, with potentially 8 rooms explored, a lot of curiosities, even secret rooms, flashbacks and everything, you were threading an interesting story about this place. You might have found motivations, weaknesses, how your story and the story of the people that lived here tie to this entity. And with all this information, you color this final battle to understand what you have to do. So for us, for our story here, it became apparent there is no good side here. The previous owner was interested in sapping the power from the spectral world, but the entities themselves were not only trying to protect their realm, but they were trying to influence people to do as they wish and convert those runes to a kind of weapon they could use to manipulate. And now that we reveal the boss that has a cruel sense of humor, we could conclude that this malevolent entity was using its influence power simply to see the conflicts arise between the members of this family. So although it was trying to protect its realm, perhaps the matriarch had nothing to do with it. Perhaps previous owner, through his notes, convinced her that was best to protect her family. But through the plays of Wick the poltergeist jester, she became detached and the children became angry. And that's where we stand now. So we need to banish this entity, but also get rid of the potential that those runes have, both for the living and for the ghosts. This kind of connection they created through the runes can be dangerous for both parts. Now, how do we fight the boss? In a way, it's the same way as the other ones. We're going to use the same kind of dice roll and have positive or negative outcomes and everything. When we have a positive, outcome. We remove a card from the peril pile. We have a more negative outcome. We remove a card from the power pile. And our goal is to deplete the peril pile before the boss depletes our power pile. And what's interesting is every time we do so, those cards represent the challenges we faced up until this point, and we can use them as a sort of prompt, color how the experiences we had so far influence our actions from the things we've learned, and also the actions of the boss from the ways it knows how to affect us. So let's see how that works. So I'm at the ballroom, and after I see a heartbeat that echoes through the walls, the poltergeist jester Wick presents itself, and we start our final conflict. I'm going to try and banish it. You can color this narration as much as you can, but for the sake of this demonstration, let's focus on how the dice and the cards work. So in your first action, let's say we have a positive outcome for A and a negative outcome for B. You roll and you get a negative. Okay, so it hit us somehow, it affected us somehow. That means we need to remove one card from our power pile. And we do so by clicking on this button here, and we can use this card as an inspiration for what happened. In our case, this Joker was a representation of the motivation behind it. So if its motivation was to use the runes to influence people, I think the first attack of the boss is to embed the runes in this room with a lot of malevolent power, and it saps our vital energy and we feel weak. And we try to do something, we roll again. Now we get to hit him. So we remove one from the peril pile. And again, we use the card here as inspiration. To help you with that, cards and even the book, if you check on the table, they have keywords like here. The shroud, drift, claw, tear, or dive. Those keywords refer back to the challenge you faced before and can help you inform how you were able to use one of the experiences you had, perhaps a lesson you learned, to actually attack this guy. So I use tear, and remember that a mist creature that I used before, I was able to tear through it using objects from the house itself that have somewhat of a spectral power embedded in them, and they affect the entities. So what I do is I throw a vase towards them, and I feel that it affects it. And we continue like that, rolling the dice and deciphering what it means and reducing the power pile or the peril pile accordingly until one of the piles is depleted. If we, for example, finish the peril pile first, we can narrate how we either destroy, banish, or capture this entity and how we solve this problem. Otherwise, if it's the opposite, if the power pile is depleted first, we were unable to solve the problem. What that means depends on you. Were you physically defeated? Did you die? Or you were just prevented from doing something? Or was the solution not permanent and you narrate an epilogue in which the entities come back after a false victory that you had, or you decide to flee because you were completely overpowered by the entity and you decide that this manner is something that is beyond your abilities to deal with it. And your mission will be done by this point, regardless of the outcome. Now, you can decide, okay, I will continue and I'll just start over, run another mission, and continue from there. Or depending on the results of this confrontation, you can decide that your days as a Wraithound are over and you go back to your order and ask for retirement. And if you want to continue playing, you may create another character that picks up the torch and keeps fighting. And there you have it. There is more to it. I abbreviated some parts just for the sake of this video, but I hope I was able to give you a glimpse on how to blend narrative control, dice rolls, card play, how to use the virtual tabletop, and what a playthrough of Wraithound is like. If you enjoyed the game, consider backing it. Again, the link's down in the description. You have one more week, and after the crowdfunding is finished, the game will be available on my itch page. I'm finishing up with the game, revising some tables, finishing up the layout, and I expect to deliver this game in its final form, including the virtual tabletop and the custom deck of cards, by June. Again, I hope you enjoy it, and see you next time. Bye-bye.